Hello! So today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to get started in film photography because I'm going to be going to college next year to study photography, and I work mostly in film photography. So I'll talk about what cameras you should consider getting, what types of film to buy, what type of ISO film you should get depending on what you want to shoot, and then I'll kind of give you a bit of a tour of my Canon AE1 because that's the camera I mostly use to shoot, and then I'll show you how to take a roll of film out of that camera, and then I'll also explain where you can get your film processed after you're done shooting. I first got interested in film photography after taking an analog photography class at the American Academy of Art the summer before my sophomore year, and during the class we had access to cameras similar like this, but after the class ended I didn't have a proper film camera at my disposal, so I used disposable cameras for about a year and a half, and I think that's a really great way to get started in film photography and kind of get used to some of the limitations of film photography, like the concept that you can't check to see what your shot looked like until after your film's been processed. So you can get disposable cameras at camera shops, and I think they still sell them at convenience stores, but they're a little more expensive at convenience stores. So disposable cameras are from about $10-ish all the way about to like $16-ish, and color disposable cameras are way more common than black and white disposable cameras, and black and white disposable cameras are a little more expensive. But with disposable cameras you can't have a very good focus on a single object. Everything's kind of encased in a very soft focus, and you can't zoom in, you can't change like shutter speeds or anything like that. You do have a built-in flash in the disposable camera, but that's about where it ends. But it's a really good way to get introduced to film photography. So about a year and a half ago I got my Canon AE1, and it's the camera I use the most and I'm the most familiar with, and it's from the 1970s I believe, and it's pretty manual. You have to set which film speed you're using, you have to set the shutter speed, you have to completely manually focus everything, and you have to advance the film yourself, which I don't know, can be a challenge sometimes because sometimes I forget and you can't take the next photo without advancing the previous shot. So yeah. And you also have to roll up the roll of film back into the little canister when you're done, because you do not want to open up the back of your camera and not have it rolled back up, because then you'll expose your negatives to light and they'll be totally ruined. Luckily I've only done that once, and that was when I was at photography camp, and so I was not used to anything, so, but it's not happened since, fortunately. And then I also have a Nikon Lighttouch Zoom 70 WS. I've only had it for a couple months and I've only shot one roll of film on it, so I'm not super comfortable with it. But it's way more automated, so I don't have to worry about advancing the film myself, and I don't have to wind the film back up when I'm done. The camera does all of that for me, and the pros of this one is that there's a built-in flash, where this one doesn't have a built-in flash, and this one I can zoom in, and there's a self-timer, which is not an option for my Canon AE1, but I don't know. It's kind of similar to a disposable camera, I guess, because I can't get a really sharp focus on a single object. It's kind of all a soft focus, but I don't know, I'm still getting used to this camera, so yeah, but it's pretty good. But this one's still my favorite. So now I'm going to show you guys how to take a roll of film out of a more analog type camera like my Canon AE1. So I've already pressed this little button back here, and it allows this to kind of come up. And so right now all the film I've shot is in this side of my camera, but I need to have it rolled back up in here so I can take it out of my camera and have it be processed. So on this little lever, not lever thingy, this little thing, there's an arrow, so I'm going to turn it in the direction of the arrow, and it's going to roll the film back up into here, back to the little film canister. So yeah, and it makes a noise once it's done, so that's how you know everything's back in the little film canister. So, oh. And you can see the numbers, if you were able to see over here, you can see the numbers like rewinding and going down from 36, because this was a 36 exposure roll of film. Okay, so it made the little noise, but I always like to just turn it a couple more times just to be safe. And then I can pop this up, and that allows the back to open, so I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna do it a couple more turns. I always just want to be safe. Oh, that it just popped out. Okay, so yeah. So now it's ready to be processed. So I'm gonna give you guys a really speedy tour of my Canon AE1 because honestly, this video is turning out to be much longer than I thought it was going to be. So yeah, I have pretty much all the original parts. I don't have a flash to attach here or anything like that. I don't have a fun lens. This is just the lens that the camera comes with. So this first ring on the lens controls the focus. So the infinity focus gives you a look similar to a disposable camera, so everything's covered in a soft focus, and yeah. But if you move closer this way, you can get a particular object in a nice sharp focus. And then the bottom ring controls the amount of light let in, and you this ring always works in tandem with this part, because the shutter speed and the light let in will control the light let in for your shot and basically how it turns out. Because so the smaller numbers both ways is for like darker settings, and then like 1,500 and like 11 and 16 or for really bright settings. But also bear in mind the like faster the shutter speed is, the harder it is to like capture moving objects, because then they won't be kind of captured in time, they'll be blurry. So yeah, so this is this is the button you press to literally take a shot. Yeah, and so after okay, now I need to advance it, but I don't have anything in right now. So you press this to literally take a photo, then you have to advance the film after, otherwise you can't take another photo. Yeah. So, ooh, I should have put my lens cap back on. Okay, you pop this up, open again, and this is where you put the film roll in, and yeah. And then this is where the film gathers as you take your shots. Yep. You guys about film ISO or film speed. I normally shoot with 400 ISO because it's labeled as all purposes film, but honestly it's not fantastic for shooting indoors without flash, or shooting on really bright days without a cloud in the sky, because then you can't get the shutter speed and aperture right enough for really good quality photos. So I can actually show an example of a photo taken with 400 ISO film on a really bright day, and the end effect like isn't awful. It's just like foggy and you just can't get that really like crisp finish, I guess. Oops, upside down. So yeah, I don't know. It's not fantastic. I still really like the photo, but it's just obviously really, really bright. And I couldn't really do anything about that because I had my shutter speed and aperture the highest it could go, and it still turned out like this. So now that I've taken this roll of film out, I'm going to take it to Central Camera downtown. It's 230 South Wabash to get my negatives developed and cut for me. And so this is actually exactly what they're gonna look like once they give it back to me, because both of these are black and white. So yeah, they cut them for you and put these in these nice little sleeves, and so they're ready to be scanned. I don't get prints anymore just because it's more expensive, and I don't know. I like to put stuff in my room, but I'm running out of space. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you've learned stuff about film photography, and I hope you guys maybe consider practicing film photography sometime. Yeah, thank you.